Hi folks! In this video you can learn how to assemble this drawstring top lunch tote. Keep watching!
So I'm going to get started by giving you a list of the fabrics you'll need to put on your mat before you cut with your maker. So if we start with the lining, you'll need one piece 12 by 19. I know this one is longer, I didn't bother cutting the length, but 12 inches wide. On the original bag that I made, I used a cotton fabric and put a clear vinyl lining over it. I left those cuts in the file in case you want them. But on this one, I'm going to use, it's kind of like a fleece with a vinyl coating on it, and it's washable. So I really like this because I can wipe out the inside of the lunch bag if I ever use it. So for the lining, one piece 12 by 19. For the top trim on your bag, because the outside is going to be two colors, for the top trim on your bag, let's see, what do I have? One piece 12 by 16. For the drawstring top, you need one piece 12 by 14. For the body of the bag, you need one piece 12 by 19, and for the handles, one piece 10 by 16. So I'll go over that again. The handles, one piece 10 by 16. The bottom of the outside bag, one piece 12 by 19. The drawstring top, one piece 12 by 14. The lining layer, you want this white one, you want one piece 12 by 19. The trim for the outside top, one piece 12 by 16. And besides that, you want ribbon or cord to pull through to make your drawstring. So on these fabrics for the outside of the bag, they're cotton canvas, they're quite thick. And the lining that I'm using is really quite thick, so I'm not using any interfacing. But if you're using something like a simple cotton, you definitely want to use a fusible interfacing to make the bag more sturdy, but not on the drawstring top, because that would make it stiff. It just wouldn't look right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and I'll come back and show you how everything looks. The file is sized to cut. You don't need to do anything except hide the text. When you open the file, hide the text. You don't want the wording to cut out. Those are just notes for you to see so you know what pieces you're cutting. So I'm going to get these all cut out on the maker, and I'll come back and show you what I've done. So here we go. If you have everything cut out in the file, this is what you should have. You should have two pieces that you're using for the drawstring top. You should have your handles cut out. I went ahead and pressed mine. So what I do is press to the middle, then press this piece in, the opposite piece in, so they meet in the middle, then fold over and press again. Maybe I should have shown you on white. So I fold it in half. Open it, press one side to that middle line, press the other side to that middle line, and then fold in half again. And what I'm going to do is stitch right along both sides. We don't need to stitch the ends because they are going to be hidden in the trim of the bag and you won't see them. So we have two like that. Sometimes I change it around and I use something like this cotton strapping that I buy at my fabric store. I went a little cuckoo one day and bought tons of different colors. I think every color they had. So once in a while I use that instead of doing a fabric handle. I like those too, especially on tote bags. So we have the handles. This time I'm going to use fabric. We have the outside body of the bag, which looks a little short, and it is. We are going to be adding a trim to the top so that it's two-tone on the outside. So we'll get to that. So you should have 2 pieces, actually 4 pieces for the trim. There we go. And you'll have 2 pieces for the bottom of the bag, and you'll have 2 pieces for your lining on the bag. Again, I'm using that vinyl coated fabric that I have, and in the file you'll find a cutout for your lining, and I left an extra cutout in case you're using fabric and you want to put in a clear lining on top of it, a clear vinyl lining. It's marked, there's text in the file notes so that you know which ones are which. So I have white thread on my machine, so I'm going to go ahead now and sew down the sides of this, put them face to face, good sides in, and sew down the sides and across the bottom. I'm going to, for the lining, I'm going to close the gusset on one side only. I'm not going to close both sides, and you'll see why later in the video. And then I'll pause, switch up my thread, and continue on with red thread and the rest of the steps. So here we go. I'm just going to do a straight stitch. And you want to make sure that you back stitch at both ends so your bag doesn't split when you're turning it right side out. So I'm going to back stitch and then sew forward. This material is a little thick, but I think it's going to make a really nice lining for the bag. Okay. I'm going to go along the other side. Across the bottom. And there we go. And then we're going to open it up like we always do when we make our gusset. We're going to line up our seams. I'm going to trim off those threads. And we're going to sew only one gusset on one side. You can open these if you like, or you can put one to one side and one to the other. Either way it works out just fine. I'm going to pin it to make sure it doesn't move while I'm sewing. Make sure it's nice and straight, and I'm going to sew about 1/4 inch right across, making sure to go right off the edge so you don't end up with a hole in the bag, in the corner of the bag. That wouldn't be good at all. Back stitch. Go. We don't need that pin anymore. There it is. I knew there was the thread somewhere. We'll trim these off and leave the second gusset open. We're going to be using that open gusset to pull the bag through to the good side when we're done, and then we'll close it. Okay, so you want to leave this inside out, and you can see the diameter of it. That is how the inside of your bag will look. It will be taller because on the outside you'll have the trim and you'll have a drawstring closure. So just leave it inside out from now, and we'll continue from there. So I'm going to pause and change over my thread and my bobbin, and then I'll go about doing the same thing on these on the bottom of the bag. Put them face to face. On this one I'm going to close both gussets. And okay, so I've changed over my thread. We're going to go ahead and sew the bottom of the bag together. As mentioned, this time we're going to close both gussets. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so here we go. Back stitch at the start and the end. Okay, the same on the other side. And across the bottom. Trim up the excess thread all around so it doesn't get tangled in. Okay, and we're going to close both gussets like we did on the white lining. You can open up your seams or fold them one to each side, however you feel. It really doesn't matter. Everything is going to be hidden and it's even either way. And we're going to sew about 1/4 inch right along the bottom, making sure to sew right off the edge and to back stitch, so you get a nice tight corner on it. That's that one. Where did that trip? There we go. Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other side. There, it's hiding. I knew there was a thread somewhere. Oh. We're going to do the same on this side. Line it up. Fold your seams flat or open them up, either way. I'm going to pin it to hold it in place. Make sure there's no thread hanging around to get tangled into it, or wrapped around the foot on your sewing machine. You don't want that either. And we're going to sew across again about a 1/4 inch seam. Back stitch at both ends. It's pretty quick. Okay, and on this one, we are going to turn it right side out. Where the lining, we left it inside out. On this one, we are going to turn it right side out. Let's clean up our threads. There we go. Push my corners out. And you can see that this is the bottom of the bag. We're going to work with it right side out as we continue on making it. So we'll just set aside the lining and the outside of the bottom of the bag. And from there we'll continue. The next step that we're going to do is prepare our handles. So I'm going to be sewing a straight seam right up both sides, not bothering with the ends, it's not necessary. Just hold it gently and let the sewing machine feed it through. No need to backstitch on these. Go ahead and do the same on the other side. Okay, so I don't think you can see it. I use matching threads, so it's pretty forgiving, but that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to prepare the next handle, and I'll be back to show you the next step. And we continue. So for this step, you're going to take 2 of the pieces of top trim and 1 of the handles that you've prepared. You're going to need some straight pins. So on these, I'd like to, if you use the measurements in the file, I'd like to place my handles about 3 inches in. So you'll want to mark it with a ruler, but I'm just going to use my cutting mat on my table. So 3 inches in for the edge, so my handle is actually placed on the 4th inch. I'm going to pin it there. But these pins I'll be taking out just to keep it in place while I line up the second side of it. I'll put it on my 4th inch. And you want to make sure that you didn't twist the handle when you put it on. It should look correct. I've done that a few times. So you're actually putting your fabric good side up, and on the top layer you're going to put good side down. You're going to line these up, and you can pin them or clip them, whichever you prefer. So I'll pin here and I'll take out the first pin that I put in. Line it up nice and straight. And I'll take out the first pin on this side. And we're going to sew straight along, not sewing the sides or the top, just straight along where we've pinned. And you can go ahead and backstitch over the handles if you like to reinforce them. It's a good idea if you carry water bottles in your bag or anything heavy like that in your lunch. There we go. And it will look like this, and you can see that the handle is sewn into the top trim on the bag. Very cute. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on this one. So we're going good side up. We'll pin our handle on the 4th inch. 3 inches in, landing on the 4th inch. And then we'll do the same on this side, being careful not to twist it like that. See, the handle would be twisted. You want to make sure it's not twisted. It doesn't look very good, and it's really awkward when it's done. The handle is twisted. And once you get past this point, you certainly don't want to take it apart because you twisted the handle. So that should be good. Make sure it's straight. That looks right. And we'll take this piece good side down. Line it up nice and straight like we did on the first one. Pin it again and take out the first pin. And we'll pin this side. And take out the first pin. And we'll do the same thing again. We're just going to sew straight across the seam. I like to backstitch over the handles to reinforce them. And we'll go ahead and do that. Make sure everything stays aligned, or your trim will be wonky on the top of your bag. Take that one out. Okay. Clean it all up. Make sure the threads are gone on this one too. There we go. Okay, so So we're going to lay this flat, good sides together, the handle's facing down, line up your sides, nice. I think I'll use the clip. Get your seams lined up nice on both sides so it looks really well finished. Here's a clip. Okay, so now I'm just going to be sewing both sides, up both sides. Why is this one a little crooked? I'm going to be sewing straight up both sides. Okay, so now you're going to turn this inside out, or right side out, I should say. This is the trim for the top of your bag. Tuck that in. Okay, and at this point it would be a good idea to stitch all the way around the top. You might even want to press it first so it's nice and even and finished looking. It'll be harder to press it afterwards, so I'm going to go ahead and press it, and then I'll be stitching all the way around the top. have a nice tight finish all the way around the top. Looks terrific. I have a little lint in there. Okay. It's hard to see the red on red. I just pressed it again to make sure that it's nice and neat, and we'll set this aside. So what we're going to do now, put my machine back together, and now we're going to prepare the drawstring top. Okay, so what you want to do is put your fabric face down. You're going to fold in, and you're going to stitch down maybe about 2 inches down the side. Use it, fold in on the seam allowance that you do with your maker. Just about 2 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Do the same on the second side. You're going to stitch down about 2 inches. Okay, and you want to repeat the same thing on the other part. On your second piece, that's going to make the drawstring top. And then we'll assemble it. Now you're going to take the top and roll it once, and then roll it again. And this is going to be where you pull your ribbon through or your cording through, whatever you prefer to use to make the drawstring on the top. There we go. So we're going to sew now again, but you want to sew close to that inside edge so that you have room for your cording or drawstring. I would back stitch on this just to make sure that you're not pulling it apart when you're pulling on the rope or on the cord or ribbon. Okay, set it aside and repeat the same thing on this one. So you want to fold in, sew down about 2 inches. It doesn't matter if you go 2.5 or 3 inches, that really doesn't matter because of the way you're going to finish it. It's not going to show. Okay. Okay, and now you're going to repeat the same thing at the top. Just roll it down twice. Clip it or pin it, whichever you prefer. And again, sew close to the inside edge so that you have the space to add your cord or ribbon, and again back stitching to reinforce the edges. Clean up your threads, whatever you find. We're going to place these face to face. And fold along your seam allowance. And pin or clip these. Make sure you've got enough seam allowance to sew neatly along the edge. So you don't want to start at the top because you won't be able to get your drawstring through if you sew it closed, and that would defeat the whole purpose of what you've just done. So what you want to do is start a good inch down. So what you want to do is start a good inch down from the top. So much thread, my goodness. There we go. So you don't want to start, now that you've got it pinned, you don't want to start sewing right at the top because you won't have the opening to put your drawstring through. So you want to start about an inch down on each side and just sew right along the edge to attach these pieces together. Stop about an inch from the top and back stitch. And repeat on the second side. Start about an inch from the top. remember to back stitch. There we go. And you want to keep this inside out. So we're all ready to assemble the bag. This part's fun because we're almost done. See how we have the opening for the drawstring? Okay. So you want to take the outside of your bag. You want to take this upside down and put it over your bag, over your toe. Line up your seams on the side. There we go. And you want to pin. Or clip them, whichever you prefer. Make sure not to clip too close to the top because you're going to be sewing along the edge. There we go. Okay, so you see how that looks upside down. Now you want to take your drawstring layer, put it with the openings down, and put it on top of the bag. Again, lining up your seams. I'm going to pin again. Using a lot of pins, so you want to make sure that you get them all out afterwards. You don't want to be stabbing your little fingers with them when you're done. Okay, so that's our next layer. Pin it all around. Okay, now you want to take all of this and put it inside the inside out lining. Keep your lining inside out. I'm going to push all of this inside. Line up your seams again. Pin them in place so you don't move them. Push it down. Ouch. I don't like pins. I prefer clips. Okay, and now we've got everything ready to sew, and we're going to be sewing all the way around the edge. More thread. It's quite thick. You have several layers going on, so you want to make sure you go slow. Don't break your needles. Take your time and try to get it nice and straight. That's where the maker having this ability to draw a seam allowance really comes in handy. So we're going to go all the way around the bag. There we go. Okay, so now we are carefully going to pull everything through this gusset that we left open. Here it comes. Careful with the pins. You don't want to be stabbing yourself while you're pulling it through. Phew, that was a job, wasn't it? Okay, so you can see how cute it is. You want to make sure to get all your pins out. Look for all the pins that you used. Actually, it's usually a lot easier to pull it through. It's difficult because I use this vinyl fabric, which is quite thick, so it makes it more difficult to pull it through. Let's check some more pins. There's a lot of pins. But unfortunately, you have to use pins to do this. There we go. And more thread. Well, what do you know? Excellent. Okay, so let's push this in just to make sure everything sits properly. This is your drawstring top. We're going to put a ribbon through there so it has a close on it, a closure. And that's basically how your bag looks. So what I'm going to do now is being very careful not to catch this in what I'm sewing. I'm going to now sew around the edge here to keep the lining in place so that you're not pulling it out every time you take something out of your bag. So we're just going to set that up. And we're going to sew along the edge. Always making sure that you're not sewing your drawstring in. You want to be careful that you're not sewing in the fabric for your drawstring. Make sure everything's tight. Straight. It's a little hard to go over the seam, so go slowly. No. Go, we have a nice finish on it. It's all lined. I love it. We're going to pull our lining back out because we don't want to forget to finish the gusset on the side that we left open. So we're just going to tuck it in. I should be doing this with white thread, but just get that finished. We'll just tuck it in and sew across our gusset to close it up. Making sure not to catch any other material in it. Be careful. You don't want to ruin it now. It would look better if I did that with white thread, but I'm just making this one as a demo, so I'm not going to keep you waiting while I change my thread. There we go. Push it back in. And all we have to do is add the drawstring ribbon. And we'll have our little lunch tote. Isn't it terrific? Love it. I'm going to get my ribbon set up. And we'll finish off the bag. Okay, so we're going to thread our ribbon, or I'm going to use the ribbon. I don't have a cording in a nice bright red, so I'm going to use a ribbon. I'm just going to get my pin ready to begin with. I'm going to fold over the end to reinforce it so I don't shred it while I'm pulling it through, and pass my pin through it. And then we're just going to feed it through, and we'll cut it at whatever size we like. So you can put two separate ribbons, one on each side. Just knot them together so you don't pull them through by accident. Maybe we'll do that on this one. I think maybe I'll do that. Okay. So we'll choose the length we want. Take that off. And I'll cut this side about the same length. And now we'll string the second side. Get that out of the way. And we'll do the same thing. I have to make a note to pick up some more cording. I have like beige, and I think I have some white. Maybe I should have looked for white cording in my materials, but the red ribbon will be cute also. I have to remember to pick up some more cording. Okay, nice and easy to pull it through because we left a good channel to work with. We'll take out our pin, pull it through to the same length. And we can just tie a little knot in it. We can do it this way. Oops, I shouldn't do it with my left hand. I'm right-handed. There we go. And we can just trim these up to make them nice. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Trim them to the same length. And tie a knot in them again. Tie a knot on this side. And trim the edges up to the same length. Throw those away. There we have it. A nice little drawstring bag. Tie these in a bow to keep it closed. There we go. Isn't that adorable? All finished. And it takes a little effort, but they're so cute. It's so fun to make. So I hope you'll make some. Please post pictures if you do. And thank you for watching.